If you want to participate, contact me at ordinarywomenpodcast@gmail.com. I'm sure you have great projects to brag about. You can also follow me and message me on Instagram at Ordinary Women Podcast, on Twitter at Ordinary Women PC, or on Facebook on the page Ordinary Women. Hi everyone, welcome to a new episode of Ordinary Women. Hi Antonella, how are you?
Hi, I'm good, thank you. And you?
I'm good too. Thank you very much. Thank you for being here today and for participating in these podcasts.
Thank you
Um,
for hosting me. It's a pleasure.
Thank you. Very excited. Can you start by giving us a quick introduction of yourself, please?
Yes. So, my name is Antonella. I'm almost 39 and a few days, and I live in Rome, right in the center of Italy. In life, my job is educational consulting.
Cool. You live in the most beautiful city in the world, in my humble opinion. That's very cool. And can you tell us something unusual about yourself?
When someone asked me a similar question months ago, I said I am a very curious person. Then I discovered very recently that there's a name for this. They call people like me multipotentialite, like people who are very curious, very interested into learning new things, having in mind different projects. Some of them, some multipotentialites even take different careers. Not my case. So it's kind of, I would call it superpower because not that I remember everything I studied, but I'm being very curious. You can tell me something, and usually I say, "Oh, I've been reading about it. Yes, I read something about it." So
That's
that's
super
different.
cool. I had never heard about it. Like, I didn't know it had the. Well, yeah, I didn't know that was a thing. That's super cool. What's the last thing you were curious about?
Well, at the moment, the period of my life, I'm going through a little bit of pedagogy and like the learning steps from young children to, like teenagerhood and that kind of thing. Because I'm very curious to know, how do you learn things and if you just learn things because of your family or the school or because there's something in yourself. So I'm just curious about this at the moment. But there was a time when I also studied a little bit of meteorology. Not that I understood it, but I was curious about it. So, it depends.
That's super cool. Love that. That's amazing. And I like to start the podcast by asking, was there an event or a moment in your life when you realized that you are a woman?
I would say that more than a woman, I still don't realize it, being a female person, I would say, or being a girl. I think I realized that when I was maybe around 10, 12 years old, not in a nice way. I mean that I was born and grew up in the south of Italy, and in the 80s, the south of Italy traditional in terms of expectations for women, what to do, what not to do, and kind of families. And I remember fighting because I was quite independent on my own, even when I was a child. I remember fighting against these stupid rules with my grandparents, with my parents about, let's say, oh, you cannot do this because you are a girl, or this is not appropriate for a girl, or no, you cannot go out, but your brother can. So it was not made for bad reasons. It was made because, like that was the way they thought. But I remember fighting against that. And to be honest, also being a bit sad about something like, oh, maybe tomorrow I can wake up and being a boy. It never happened. So I would say that was the period of my life I realized that was a girl.
Wow, okay, yeah, that's unfortunately, I feel that a lot of women go through that. Yeah. Are you now doing everything that you want?
I think I worked through my way. I would say yes, definitely. I didn't do yet everything I wanted, but surely I'm living the life I want. Yeah,
Nice. And also, yeah, you still have time to do whatever you want, so
I think exactly.
Nice. And did you grow up with any female role model?
I think yes. My role model, I mean, as a female role model, has been surely my mother. Because despite, but don't tell her. But she don't tell me. No, I'm joking. Because despite, I mean, the social expectations, the environmental conditions, I would say, like, like the society was like that in the 80s and the 90s, she always fighted to let both me and my brother in the same study opportunity. So, like, allowing both of us, to go away if we wanted to study in a specific university, or even living away from home after the diploma. And so that both of us can have the same opportunities. And that it was very important for me, because I could attend a very specific university, and then from them I could travel and go abroad and so on. And another thing that she always taught me was that, I mean, firmly and with these same words, was like, despite the work you decide to take, even, let's say, very important or even but always make sure you have a job and you have your own income. So whatever happens, you can run away, or you can make your own decision. And that's something which is clearly staying on my mind forever. That I think it's a great and revolutionary, I would say, thing to talk to a teenager in the mid 90s. I think so. So,
Yeah, definitely. It's so important to be independent, and that's something that older generations of women have fought for, and we can live independently now thanks to them.
it's such an important thing to remember even now. I mean, even lots of women don't feel like to work on their own. I mean, we feel guilty sometimes if we work full time, or if we raise children and work full time. I mean, it's not still done for everyone. There's still space for this sentence, for not just me, I suppose.
Yeah, that's very true. Definitely. And also, unfortunately, it's not accessible for all women in the world, which is outrageous. Um, but yeah, such a great role model. Your mom sound great. And do you currently have any female role models?
Think over the years, as I'm quite good to be interested in things, I'm also always happy to learn. So I cannot remember specific people, living people, uh, but I think over the years I've been learning small bits from, I would say, ladies I met at the swimming pool, or ladies I met casually, older or younger, because I think that you can learn and getting role modeling from all ages. But there are two um, female writers that I'm really fond of, not just because of the things they wrote or created, but because of their life, if I can mention them, that I think they can be great role models. And absolutely they are. And those are, one is Beatrix Potter, and the other one is Louise May Alcott, which I think they are famous for writing, well, of course, Little Women, in the case of Miss Alcott, and for children's books, in the case of Betty Potter. But what many people don't know, and I've been reading through their biography a lot, is that they were so innovative, so modern in the way they life. Like Louise May Alcott didn't come from a wealthy family, financially speaking, but they worked through, they used their ability to write novels to finance her own family, like the uh, parents, and she allowed her younger sister to study as a painter. She adopted a niece when it was necessary. So she, with her writing skills and her knowledge, she found a profession. She made a profession, and she became independent financially. And Beatrix Potter as well. I mean, she didn't live the way her parents expected her to do. She didn't marry very young. She didn't have children, but she earned a lot of money from the children book, And then with that money, she decided to settle in the Midlands, in the Lake District there in the UK. And she bought a lot of lands in the Lake District because she wanted to save them from real estate investment at that time. I mean, it was the beginning of the 20th century. And it was thanks to her that the National Trust was created. So, I mean, they did great things. And not many people know, but I mean, they were models of study and put education in front of everything. And with their own job, they could help also others, not just gaining their own independence. So I think they're great role models for everyone.
Yeah, I didn't know that about either of them. That's amazing. They sound amazing. I really want to read more about them now.
I can advise you about some good biographies if you like.
Yeah, that's definitely a good recommendation. I will definitely read them. What do you think they teach you?
I think they teach that, as I said, I mean, education can be a turning point. I mean, when the case for women, you can think that one was, I mean, Liz Alcott lived in the middle of the 19th century and Beatrix Potter between the 19th and 20th century. So there were great expectations about how a late or proper Victorian woman must live, what they didn't have to do, what they could do. So they completely, I mean, they didn't do nothing outrageous. They stayed in the standard of the common sense and good manner. But anyway, they found their way to express themselves and to put themselves at the service of others as well, not just gaining their own independence. I think that these two things are the one that inspire me also in my job. So for me, it's a great, they are both great role models.
That's super cool. Yeah, super cool things to look up to, and yeah, great stories. Thank you so much for sharing this. And do you think that the lack of representation of women in society had an impact on you?
I think as I've been always working as, I mean, independently, so not as an employed person, I think at the very the very early years, but even sometimes now after 18 years, I think the lack of models in terms of women in business have been an important matter for me because in my time, I didn't really have any model of a lady running her own company, her own shop, or doing something in terms of profession working. At the maximum example I could have was were people like my mother working for a company, you know, like employed people. So I didn't have any model of a woman who could be running her own business or and going through all the difficulties, but also being self-confident enough to do this. And that caused me a bit of struggle, especially later. So I think maybe now it's better for younger generation, but I think lack of representation is definitely an issue for many fields.
Yeah, definitely. Did you look up to more men, or did you find it just very difficult to identify with anyone and like get inspiration from anyone?
There are men, I mean, I think it's a matter of which model you decide to emulate. Because there are women in business that decide to emulate men as much as possible, but it doesn't work. I think it doesn't work. Um, or women that are fighting to find their own way. One time ago, I remember I read a book. I think the title was something like Woman Economics" or something like that. That was talking about the fact that we must not abide to the model of like male organizations. It's not compulsory. I mean, we can find our way. We can find a way of, let's say, we want to dedicate a couple of hours a day to our own hobbies or to our family. That's fine. I mean, we must not be difficulty for that. So I think the model of organization can change and must change so that everyone can have his own space, but it's still a long way. I think.
Yeah, I definitely agree with all of this. Cool. Thank you for sharing. I'd like to jump on your like what you want to focus on. Maybe like a project or a life experience or achievement that you have and that you're proud of. So what do you want to talk about? Can you present it?
I think what I am quite proud of, and it's something I realized in the recent year, because, I mean, I think me, but lots of people around the world with the pandemic and everything, we all had to think about what we are doing, the way we are living, and, like, do you want to carry on this way or not? So what happened to me is that, well, I've been in education since after the degree. And the way I did it was on the traditional way educational consulting is done in Italy. I mean, in Italy, there are usually big agencies working this way. They select a number of schools, the universities abroad that they want to work with, and then they recruit students for that program. So, I mean, like you select what to sell, and then you select the students. What I did after the pandemic is that changing that model for me, because I think it's more suitable. I mean, the other way is more suitable for students. What I do is not selecting schools first, but as my work is helping students from Italy who want to study abroad, either in high school or university. So the way I work now is that I focus on them. So you come to me, we discuss about your strengths, your ideas, your goals, and then I advise you and I do a mentoring process of finding the best opportunity for you, but the most suitable opportunity for the student. I find that this model, which is very common in the US actually, it makes more sense because education is such a big investment in terms of years, in terms of money, that you cannot just go because your friends decided to do something similar. You must go because you are very motivated, because someone asked you to find the right fit for you, the right opportunity for you. So that's what I'm doing now, and that's what I plan to do for the future. But also, I like to find a way, modeling the right as I mentioned before, to help those students who cannot afford to study abroad. So even if they can't study abroad, why not to give them the opportunity to find the best possible opportunity in Italy as well? So like doing some mentoring services to them anyway. And maybe, well, my dream is one day to find a way to finance some scholarships for girls so that, they can realize their potential, even if they don't come from a wealthy family, from a wealthy environment. So this is the today and the tomorrow all together.
This is so cool. This is such a great thing. Um, quick question about like the way you do that. Do you also talk about like how these students like to learn, how they study, etc.? Because indeed, like the way people study is super different in like depending on the countries. So is that something you take into account?
You mean like their study method, their study skills, or the
Yeah,
personality?
the method. Like for instance, I've studied both in France and in Italy, and like for instance, in France, you really much go to the lecture, listen to the teacher speaking, and then you learn basically what they speak. For instance, in Italy, you buy a book and you learn the book. So things like that. If
Yes.
I'm not wrong, I think in the US they talk a lot more than we do in France. So is
In
it
the
something
case,
you
a bit of project and a bit of lectures. Yes, yes,
do?
that's something because I focus on, well, at the moment, because you can't do everything. I
Yeah.
cannot. I'm curious, but I cannot do everything. It's impossible. So my focus is, for example, on UK, US, and Canada. And I always talk about, let's say, yes, they study method, their personality. I remember some months ago, I had a girl, and she was in doubt either to study in Netherlands or to stay in Italy. And I think, yes, and one part of it was about the study and the teaching method. And I remember, as you said, that she preferred to stay in Italy, for example, because she was like, I don't like the too much independence the Netherlands university expect from me, for example. So yes, it's definitely something we talk about together with the content of the subject, because I mean, if you name a topic, can be studied in a different way according to the country you select or the university itself. So yes, absolutely.
That's so interesting. And you must have like learned so much about how every country had their own way to study and to teach. That's so interesting.
Always an ongoing process. And I really like my job also because you must learn every time something new. I mean, because school system changes and the offer of courses changes, but also there are lots of studies, new studies and things about new way of teaching. I also attended the last fall season online conference about the future of education, something like this. That was the title. I'm very interested about that, but I'm interested in the way people learn and the approach to others, but also because of my job, I like to apply what I learned to the service of the student as well. So, yeah.
That's super cool. Yeah, that really sounds like you. That's very cool. And why did you start it?
There's no why because as many things in life, things sometimes happen. After university, there were a couple of friends of mine at the university, and we actually were not in education because we started with tourism. Actually, we created an agency. We were meant to work in tourism, but then we didn't like. So I had the idea to move to summer courses, and I mean for summer courses, I mean the traditional students going to the UK to study English in summer. And then from there, I moved to high schools and universities. And then I realized, even before pandemic, there was a huge interest in that, but also that there was a need of do something personalized. As I said, I mean, a more personalized approach. So that's why after pandemic, I thought a little bit, and then I thought this one was the best possible way I could do my job and that students to realize their potential. I mean, I like to say that it's very important to find the school or university where you can flourish. I mean, where you can be yourself, um, take out what you have to offer to the community, like your interest, your talent, learn from others as well, not just sitting in front of a teacher and learning passively. I mean, um, that's not, there's nonsense to going abroad just for this, I think. Um,
That's super cool. And yeah, definitely, especially when you're going abroad, you learn so much more outside of uni than you do at uni. Quite well, I was about to say quite surprisingly, but actually, maybe not.
It resonates with me as well because, well, I studied at a private university and it was a mixed model. It was in Italy as well as in the UK. So myself, I was trained under the UK university system. I mean, the way lessons were done and the program and the content. And that model fitted so much with me because there was a mix of lessons and lectures and lots of individual projects and research you have to do. So, there was the time to learn and time to put in practice and to do your own project. And that was super interesting for me. So I think from there, I mean, it resonates, the job I do resonates a lot with my personal pathway. That's why I like to do it.
Ah, that's amazing. Yeah, you sound very passionate about it, which is amazing. And how long was there between the first time when you thought about it and the time you actually launched it?
Well, as I said, it's an ongoing process. I mean, I started doing this in 2006, so it's a long time. But as an agency, this new model I started in 2021, but I already have students which are abroad or they are almost finishing their first semester or year abroad. I found that, I mean, at the very beginning, I thought it was going to be difficult to explain people that I was not working on the traditional way, but I discovered that the more you explain, like on LinkedIn or I mean the main social media or the marketing you can do, the more you explain why you do this and the way I do this, the more people tend to say, "Oh, I didn't know there was such a job." That is useful. That is very useful, and that's all I'm happy for. I mean, I had a good welcoming, I would say. So.
That's super cool. Have you heard back from anyone from students you advised on
Yes.
where to go and who were yeah?
Yeah, over the years. Yes, I always heard from them. I had a conversation with a student last month during Easter holidays because I'm preparing to write I mean, based on the conversation, I will publish an interview to him. And well, of course, we talked about what did you find difficult about fitting into a new school and so on. But the sweet thing he told me was at the end of the conversation when I asked him, "Oh, do you think? I mean, are you happy with this choice to go abroad? Do you think that this is a good opportunity for everyone?" And he was very serious and was like, "Yes, but this is not for everyone. You must be very and I know many friends of mine that they're not so brave as I am." And he was very proud of it. So, and I understood why, because I imagine, I mean, of course, being away from your family and stepping into a new school and new school system was not easy, but it was sweet. It was sweet to listen to. So.
Yeah, and you must feel so good also to see the great impact that you have on someone.
Yeah, I remember sometimes, for example, years ago, I had a girl who was so shy. I mean, like she came to the office with her parents and she barely spoke. And the year after, when she came back from the boarding school, she was a completely different person. So yes, and I've been in touch with some students over the years. Some of them are working abroad. One, I think, recently moved to Eastern Europe to do journalism. And well, some of them you lost track, but some of them, I mean, I know what they're doing, and I can see that even if you study abroad for a little bit, it just broaden your horizons. So you see more, like you see different ways of everything, learning, teaching, thinking, other opportunities. And even if you maybe you want to come back home after the little while abroad, but you're not the same person anymore anyway. So it definitely changes your life.
Definitely. That must be so cool to see. That's very cool. And was there anyone who had an impact on you on doing this?
I think every one of them, because yeah, when you talk to students, sometimes I mean, they say things, and for example, let's say at the beginning when you talk to the first for the first time to the family, and then I always talk to the student itself on our own. I mean, without parents. And sometimes it's very sad because they say to you things that, I mean, behind the scenes, you believe that you understand there's something wrong, like they're not happy with the school, or they don't feel appreciated by their teachers, or sometimes even by parents, to be honest. And you feel the responsibility of saying, let's see if I can help you. Maybe I can't, but let's see. I mean, I tend to see it's like you have lots of nieces and nephews in a way. So like, okay, I like to accompany you for a little while. Maybe let's see what you can do in the future. I really like it, to be honest. So I think every one of them teach me something.
That's super cool. Yeah, and you must see so many of them. That's so much to hear about and learn about. That's so cool. And what challenges have you faced so far?
Challenges, I think. Well, of course, practical challenges. I mean, there've been Brexit, there have been increases in fees, so some parents are a bit more conscious of sending students abroad. Uh, One challenge that I can remember very recent is like that sometimes parents are still afraid of sending abroad their female kids. So there was a lady, for example, said after a conversation, everything like, we decided to keep our girl in Italy, and it was so sad because like, the girl was so clever and so talented. But sometimes you can't say, I mean, you cannot go into too much personal because, of course, it's the daughter, not yours. But that makes you so sad because, like,
Oh wow, yeah, that's so sad.
I still don't know how to act in similar cases. I still have no idea, really. So.
Yeah, that makes sense. Like at the end of the day, they're her parents, and
Yes,
I
okay.
guess there's only so much you can do. But it's so sad. I hope that one day she manages to.
Yeah, I'm sure she will because she was very motivated, like I was when I was a student. So I think she will find her way anyway. But back to what we said at the beginning, like the idea that there's still, I mean, it's not because parents are bad, but because for them as well, they are lacking of role models and representations for the idea of what the girls can become. So of course they want to protect the girls. It's not because they don't want them to be realized or to be good professionals. It's just that they're afraid of the world in general or not being able to follow in case of difficulties. In case I understand this. I think the presentation of women in society is important for parents as well, not just for children, not just for girls.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Yeah, I'm sure it was made with the best intention from them, but it's yeah. I hope that she meets other people who can help her. I don't know, or that her parents change their mind at some point. But yeah. And was there something on the contrary that was easier than you thought it would be?
Yeah, I think, as I said before, I thought it was going to be more difficult to explain people the way I work based on the fact that they are used to a certain way of offering student recruitment for educational opportunities abroad. But if, I mean, not for everyone, but I found that when I explain the why before the what, like, okay, I do this because I think that everyone deserves his own opportunity, not a general opportunity, same for everyone, but an opportunity suitable for each student, then it makes in people's mind that it makes easier the conversation on how I work and what meaning for educational consultant. So that was easier than I thought.
Oh, that's fun. Yeah, yeah, that makes sense. That's very cool. And how did you do it? Like, what steps did you do to create this?
Well, usually when a family contact me, most of the times they're parents, but sometimes it's the student itself. I always, well, of course, I make a couple of questions to understand if I can help. Because not everyone, maybe I don't know everything, as I said. Then we always arrange a call. I would say an interview. Recently has been only online, let's say Meet or Zoom or something, but it would be even in person from the next fall season because I'm reopening an office if they want to come in Rome. I usually advise students all over Italy, so there's no need to come in person. But anyway, whatever the tool, we always do a family meeting, let's say for the parents and the student so that they can explain me what is in their minds and the idea they have. Let's say you want to go to a certain country for a specific period and so on. And after that, I ask lots of questions to make to understand that the project and they know what they don't know. Maybe they just need information at the beginning, the school's the opportunities and everything. And then, as I said before, I always do an additional interview chat with the student to listen without parents because you know that I mean teenagers say more without parents than with parents. Then of course you have to put things together because sometimes the expectations are completely different. So you have to call them again all together and compare the expectations. So to understand, like the interests and the ideas, what they're scared of, what they want to do afterwards, and so on. And then it depends really on what we are talking about, if it's university, if it's short term. And then we talk again, and then I can say, yes, okay, I can help you. And then if I can, they will consultancy project and say, this is the time price, and that's what I'm going to do for you. Let's say I'm looking for the boarding school in the UK for, let's say, the sports you like, the subjects you want to study, and according to the requirements. And then I send them the material, I send the proposals to the schools I think they are most suitable for them. And then I follow them through all the process, like the admission process, supervision of the tests, enrollment, visa process, I mean, all the way down. And during the program abroad, if they need any support, sometimes they do. I mean, sometimes there's just a little bit of communication needed, or especially in the beginning, to understand the way the schools work and so on. So I used to say I adopt the students and the family for a couple of years because I mean during the program abroad, it's abroad, they might need a little bit of help anyway. So this digital way, pretty much.
That's super cool. And why are you proud of it and of yourself?
Because I think it's the way I can contribute to giving students, giving teenagers some opportunities and of broadening their horizons. I mean, as much as it was important for me to see all the students coming from different social setting, to meet teachers coming from a different professional background, and this way I could find ideas and sense and friends and business partners so that I could do my own career. So they inspiration because sometimes, well, you mentioned the France school in France, studied in Italy as well. Sometimes, I mean, the school you attend, it's just not bad. It's just sometimes limited in the way of the ideas you can receive of what you can do in your life, of the possibilities you can have. So I'm happy because I mean I like it and I'm proud of it because I can try as much as I can to help them to find their own talent.
That's super cool. Yeah, definitely. Like you can definitely be proud of yourself because it's super cool. And do you do that only in Italy or anywhere?
Do you mean from the students where they come from?
Yeah, sorry, I meant like yeah.
I'm not limited. I mean, with the internet and emails and all the tools we have to communicate, think about me and you now. I had students sometimes living abroad, but they were mostly like expats, I would say Italian expats. They were living in other countries, but they still wanted to be referred to an Italian consultant. I think because the mindset of Italian parents might be supported on onto the way they must be introduced to another school system and the admission process can be different to the way a German family would do, an English family would do. So yes, I had families, but they were mostly Italian expats. Never happened to me yet to have foreign students, but I'm open to that. It's just didn't happen because I communicate in Italian. I think. I mean, like my marketing material is in Italian, so that's why. It's possible.
That makes sense. Cool. Thank you so much for sharing. We've reached the end of my questions. Is there anything that we haven't mentioned during our conversation and that you'd like to say now?
I think I would say that despite the age, despite the gender, it is very important, in my opinion, what I learned is it's very important to, I mean, to take note of how do you feel. Like, if you feel fine with your life, with the place you were born or with the place you live, fine. But if you don't, like it was with me, and not because I mean my hometown wasn't nice, it's just because it wasn't fitting with me. If it doesn't fit with you, I mean, we don't belong to the place we were born. We belong where we can be ourselves. So it's very important to find the people, the ideas, the place, the work even, where we can be ourselves. That's something that I really believe in. And I believe that education can play an important role into this because if you don't know things, you cannot have additional expectations.
Yeah, definitely. Have nothing to add. I just strongly agree with that. Well, thank you so much for coming here today and for having this chat with me.
Thank you.
It was super interesting. And as usual in this podcast, the guest gets the last word. So the mic is yours.
I would say I think my generation, well, I'm almost 40, has a great responsibility. We talked about lack of role models. I think we can be the role models of ourselves. I mean, we can become our role models. We can be better role models for the younger generation. So it's very important how what we do for them. This, I mean, then even if they're not our children, they are someone else's children, but we can do something for them anyway. So that's something I believe in.